win money, lose money. Like you're wild, you're crazy.
Fast pace.
Uh, Very fast paced. Baseball,
Slow.
by the way, not that. So like where people enjoy baseball, and I agree, and it's great and it's perfect. Like going to a game is relaxing and it's calming. You just sit there with a beer and you relax and it's cool. That's not why you go to Vegas. You don't go to Vegas to relax outside of maybe like a spa treatment for a little bit. Like you go to get in on the action and go crazy and do all sorts of things. So I don't I don't see a fit with Vegas and baseball. I think there's better options. So maybe, and listen, obviously I have no inside information on this, so don't quote like people are like, oh, you work in baseball, and you're saying no. I know nothing. But to me, baseball in Vegas makes no sense. No sense at all. I think there are better options. I don't even if they have to move across the country to somewhere like Nashville or Memphis or somewhere in Tennessee like that. Like I think that's a natural fit to go to a place like Nashville. I think that would be great for baseball. Like that seems like a real fit, whereas Vegas just doesn't seem like a match for me. So while the Raiders, I agree, are at least kind of working, and it's still early on, and the Knights are working partially because they're really, really good at hockey. I just don't see baseball as a fit. So where Oakland A's might have to move based off of Oakland not putting out the money for a new stadium, I don't see Vegas being the end option, even though that's what's rumored right now. So
Yeah, I mean it's a decent sample size at this point, right? Because it's like you're starting to get there is a different flow of baseball than typically you would normally see with any other fast-paced football, hockey. I mean, so I get that aspect too. So that's something to probably take into account. But everything else is stuck. I mean, baseball. I mean, I feel like professional sports are starved in Vegas. So regardless, I think there's some sort of excitement, regardless of the fact that hey, they're just excited to have teams now. Maybe there's also the argument that it might be oversaturated already with all of a sudden getting two teams, and then you get a third team, and like how much time can you spread across the various teams that keep going there. So
it would have to be an indoor arena, which I think it takes away from the baseball experience personally. Um, so maybe it's my personal opinion. I would I would not go to Vegas and watch a baseball game. I just wouldn't do it. Where would I go to watch my Chiefs dominate the Raiders? 100%.
It'd be a good spot for a little road trip. All right, next fact or fiction. Richard Sherman will play an NFL game this upcoming season. Now, just to give you some background here, there was some news stories that came out in the recent hours, and those revolved around cornerback Richard Sherman, who most of you guys know is one of the best corners in the league when he was in his prime. Still really decent as far as what he can do for a team. He could probably still, contribute to some extent. But arrested Wednesday and charged with burglary, domestic violence, according to Washington State jail records. He's 33, booked at the King County Correctional Facility about 6 a.m. He was denied bail. A statement from the Redmond Police Department said officers were called to a house at 1:46 a.m. for a report of a burglary in progress. Sherman was attempting to force entry into a family member's home. This after he was sought in a hit and run accident where he ran into some sort of cement barrier fleeing from the scene after arriving at his family member's residence. So they said that he drove away with popped tires before abandoning the vehicle in a nearby parking lot, and he just getting himself into some trouble here where who knows. Officers arrived, they tried to arrest him, but he fought with the officers, and a canine team was used to gain control of him, he was then taken into custody. So he was drafted 2011 by the Seattle Seahawks, helped them win their first Super Bowl in 2014, played with the San Francisco 49ers from 18 to 2020, and is currently a free agent. I think the last part is most important here because that's a lot of baggage to pull on for a guy who not a lot of teams are really like itching to just bring him on board in the first place.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean, he's what? I mean, he's aging.
He's up there, but he's still. He got hurt
And
again this past year, but he was 2 years ago on a Super Bowl team, a team in the Super Bowl, and he was a dominant corner for him.
I mean, he's injury prone, so you don't know how much he's going to get from him from week to week if he's, first of all, getting up in age, and second of all, with injuries. So, Scotty, Richard Sherman will play an NFL game this upcoming season. Fact or fiction?
This one's hard because it's early on in this process, so there's probably a lot of information that needs to come out still for me to give a definitive answer on this. I'm like literally contemplating back and forth as I read. I'm reading TMZ Sports right now to get the utmost, and I have some new information for you, which is gonna lead me to say fiction. He will not play an NFL game this upcoming season, and it's not because of his talent. Like, I think his talent is still up there. I think there were a lot of teams that would have been certainly interested, and at the rate he was going to get paid at this point, like, it would have been a great deal for a team. And here's a guy, he went to Stanford. You see him on TV. He's well-spoken. He's like one of the highest ranked people as far as the players union and all the active players in the NFL. So it's super unfortunate that this is where we are right now. I'm reading more details. Apparently the 911 call got released in some fashion on, or at least to someone at TMZ, where his own wife was calling. She made the 911 call, and said that he had drank 2 bottles of hard alcohol. Apparently one being a bottle of vodka and one being a bottle of Hennessy. She was frantic. He talked about threatening to kill himself at that moment. She said, "We need officers here now." He's trying to leave now. He's being aggressive. He's wrestling with my uncle. He's threatening to kill himself. He sent text messages to people saying he's going to hang himself. So I hate throwing that all out here. Like, obviously that's a very private thing and a scary thing for a guy that hopefully has a lot to live for with a wife and a career and a lot of success to his name. So it's sad to hear that. Hopefully, you know, I don't know what'll come from this. It sounds like I think you mentioned how he was involved in being investigated for crashing his car into a median before reaching the in-laws' house and banging on the door and trying to get in there, and then fighting cops, and eventually, I don't know if you mentioned, had to be taken down with a canine unit. So a dog had to bring him down in order to stop him from fighting. And I didn't see whether he's still in custody or he reached bail at this point, but earlier on today he was still in custody not that long ago. So I'm gonna say fiction, which is super unfortunate. Hate to see this. You don't like to see this in the news, and I did not expect this from Richard Sherman, to be honest. Like, the guy, every time he's on TV, he even tells you how put together he is and how smart he is. So disappointing, but people deal with stuff, right? Like, behind the scenes, you never know. People deal with things, and I don't know what's going on in his life, but from his vantage point, it seems like a reach to think that he will play on a team this year after everything that's gone on in the past 24 hours.
I would say this is fiction as well. I'll make this quick. I just think as he's getting older, I don't know. Everyone's got their demons. Everyone's got something going on that they don't like to put out in the public, especially if you're an athlete or celebrity. There's always some things that, you know, you hide from people. And I think he's got a lot of those things that maybe he needs to, you know, jump on with a therapist potentially and try to get things, you know, just talked out a little bit, because you don't go from 0 to 100. You don't go drink, like, all of a sudden you drink a ton and all this stuff just pours out. there's some stuff going on that's been going on that I think he needs to work out. And if this did not happen, I would say facts. He's going to be on a team. He could help somebody to some extent. He's not the best corner in the league, but he's not the worst by far. He can be effective, and here's the thing: as a corner or a safety, it's a lot to do with being smart too. Like your intelligence of reading plays and understanding, the quarterbacks, and he's a very, very smart guy when it comes to that stuff. So from that standpoint, I think he could definitely offer some value to any team. But yeah, there's some things going on there that I feel he really needs to work out that have been there for a while that people just don't know about. And yeah, he's got to work those things, and hopefully he can come back. But I mean, there's going to be a suspension, right? He comes back.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there's
yes.
There's not a single person that thinks he's going to come back and be able to play to the full extent of what the course of the season without any suspension based off of what just took place. So
100%.
With that being said, with the injuries that we talked about, with his aging and everything else, I just think it would be hard to see him play this season. He's got a lot more serious things that need to be on the front burner of his life than football. So, just this is what it is.
By the way, before we get to, I believe, our last one here, I don't know if you saw the score.
I did.
But the Bucks are looking like they're headed to the line up 20 seconds ago. We're going to have a 2-2 series. So Chris Middleton has scored the last now 8 points for the Bucks on 4 straight possessions. They've made 3 straight field goals and then 2 free throws here. So he's shown up. We got a series, which I thought we would. I still lean Suns, but this was a game that they were in control of and kind of collapsed in that fourth quarter. They've only put up 19 points in this fourth quarter with 13 seconds to go. So we'll see what happens in Game 5 going back to Phoenix with that crowd. And part of it might be the crowd. You're right. Like you talked about, that crowd's wild and is insane in Phoenix. Like they've been waiting their whole lives for this. They haven't had a lot of success with professional teams out there, so they're ready and waiting and ready to go on this.
Yeah, no, and looking at this box score, obviously, is pretty telling too. Chris Middleton, 43 minutes, 38 points. He woke up. He's playing incredible basketball right now. I'm not looking at the splits on some of the box score for his percentages and things, but Giannis, 26 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 shy of a triple-double. We got Holiday, who's, decent, from a stat line perspective, 11, 7, and 6. Brooke Lopez, 14 points. Those are fine. It's fine. But I will say, just looking at this, Portis played 20 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Bucks have been trying to they've been shifting back and forth what they want to do with their size. And I think they're, again, making the matchup changes and trying to make adjustments on the fly. And I think that's what they've been doing this whole time. I mean, realistically, they've been doing that every series up until this point. So, Devin Booker woke up. They needed more from DeAndre Ayton. What was his percentage? Do you have that in front of you? His shooting percentage?
DeAndre
Ayton.
I can get it. 3 and 9 or 4. It moved on me. I believe he's 3 of 9 from the field.
So 3 of 9 for 6 points, 17 rebounds. He had 3 blocks. He did it in every other stat except for scoring, which they need him to score. They need him. I mean, obviously the Bucks have been taking him away from what he's comfortable doing. Chris Paul, man, really mediocre game. Didn't look like he really had a lot to get into a rhythm there. So, man, as far as this goes, let's see some splits, free throws. Milwaukee again. Free throws are 23 to 28. That was one of the big things I was looking at in this series. Obviously, you know me, I love to look at the free throws. 5 turnovers for Milwaukee, 17 for Phoenix. That's a big stat too. So let's see, fast break points 0 Phoenix, 15 for Milwaukee. So Phoenix wasn't able to get out and run it all. Points in the paint 48-40, pretty even there. So 3-point percentage was even an edge to the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix actually shot better field goal percentage-wise than Milwaukee tonight. So crazy. This thing is tied up, and we'll see where this ends up going here in Game 5. Because, man, can you imagine Bucks win the next one and then come back home?
Won't happen.
But let's get to our final fact or fiction here and see what we can fill you guys in on what is real and what's not. Team USA, fact or fiction. Is this me first or you first? Me first, right?
You are first.
Team USA is still the gold medal favorites, and this is a fact. It's a fact. They're still the team to beat. Now, do I think that they have fallen off in a sense that, well, I don't think they've fallen off, one. I think the world's kind of caught up. There's a lot of NBA players willing to play on other teams for their countries and everything else. Now, the Team USA ended up losing to Nigeria, and then they ended up losing to Australia. So, those are two really ugly losses. There are exhibitions. So, again, I get it. They're exhibitions. You don't put too much time and energy into overthinking it. They responded Tuesday night with a comfortable 28-point win over Argentina, which, whatchamacallit, Luis Scola is still playing for the Argentina team.
Good to see he's alive and well.
Jeez. That's how, I mean, if they lost that game, maybe I'm a little bit, on edge. But
ironically, I'm looking at odds right now. Argentina and Nigeria are tied for 6th in the odds to win the gold medal. So one of those teams we lost to, and one of those teams we beat by 28.
Greg Popovich is now 9-5 as the U.S. coach. He boasts a better career winning percentage with the San Antonio Spurs, a 6.67 percentage, than the national team, 6.42. So Americans have lost unbelievably 4 of their last 5 international games, with NBA players dating back to the 2019 FIBA World Cup, where the U.S. lost to France and Serbia en route to 7th place finish. And here's the thing. Kevin Durant is not going to keep shooting 38% from the field, right? That's not going to happen. Over the last 2 games, 10 for 26 is what he's been shooting. Bradley Beal isn't going to score 2 points, as he did against Nigeria very often. He's going to score more than 2 points. He's good. He's one of the best in the world, right? If there are any concerns, it's more on the defensive side of the ball, where we're lacking in size a little bit. I think the defensive side, I don't know. I've seen some people come out and say, the U.S. is starting to play world basketball as opposed to back in the day when the Dream Team was going. Countries needed to adapt to the U.S. side of way of playing basketball to win and get themselves out of their known game internationally to play an NBA style, because that's what it took to win. Now it's a little bit different, right? So, I mean, you see this with the roster of how small this roster is. We're trying to go, small, quick, trying to shift over to a more of an international style of play. That's not something that we've typically done in the past with sending NBA players out. They, usually NBA players are dominant enough to play their own game and they don't have to worry about it. But I mean, Damian Lillard can be targeted on the defensive end. We're small with Draymond Green, and we're old with Kevin Love. We don't really, look at this. France, Rudy Gobert, he can control the paint on this team a little bit, right? Like he has the ability to do that. You have to get him in foul trouble or something, but the Australians outscored U.S. 44-24 in the paint. That gap needs to close. USA, with the likes of Damian Lillard, Durant, Beal, Zach LaVine, Jason Tatum, they're a very heavy jump shooting team and have too many shooters. In a sense, if they all go cold at the same time, it's hard to imagine that many shooters going cold, but at the same time, it's like you don't have any size. They will get Drew Holiday back, and so he's obviously currently playing in the series that just concluded Game 4 just now. But Chris Middleton and Devin Booker will be joining the U.S. team after the NBA Finals, so they're gonna be aiming to outshoot people, but. If you look at this, Australia has legitimate NBA threats: Joe Ingles, Patty Mills, Thibault, Aaron Bynes, Dante Exum. Slovenia has Luka Doncic, who can make a potential game, just by himself. He can make it a big time game by himself. Spain has Marc Gasol, Pau Gasol, the Gasol brothers, Ricky Rubio, Rudy Fernandez, Willie Herman Gomez. France has Gobert, Nick Batum, Evan Fournier, Frank Nicotella. There's some talented teams out there that are catching up, and they're going to compete. But here's the thing. There's too much talent on this roster. They can try to outscore anybody, and they should be able to do it. They just need to figure out how to get the ball in the paint and play some defense. I still think they're the favorite. They should be, and I think they will compete. They still should be gold medal favorites.
Yeah, this one's fact. Of course they're gold medal favorites. They did lose to Australia. Odds-wise, is by far the second largest favorite behind the U.S. in the Olympics. The U.S. right now on FanDuel is minus 370. For all you beginners out there, that means in order to win $100, you have to bet 370 to win 100. Whereas Australia is second at plus 500. So U.S. is still the heavy favorite. Australia at plus 500 is the heavy number 2. After that, it's Spain at plus 1,400, so 14-1. And then we head into France at 23, Slovenia with Luka at 25, and Nigeria and Argentina at 29. And then everyone else is not happening. So, listen. I think this team is more flawed than a team we've had in the U.S. Olympics in quite a while. And I actually, less than the defensive side of the ball and the paint, I attribute it to playmaking on offense. Who is like a pass first playmaking guard that we have on this roster right now? They don't exist. Like it's just not there. So to me, that's just really, really bad construction of the roster. Even if you're not taking the most talented scorer in the world, like you're trying to fit a puzzle piece together, and you need someone like Chris Paul can score, but like a Chris Paul, who I know he turned it down. They offered him, so I'm not saying they didn't try to get some of these players, but there's other options out there, and you just don't have a true point guard that can create without looking to shoot on their own on this roster. So it's all going to come down to them shooting, probably contested shots, because they're not able to take people off the dribble as much as they should and find the open man and distribute. So, and we're undersized inside, as you talked about. Got way outscored in the paint by Australia. Can't let that happen. But we don't have a lot of size. We have like 3 sort of interior guys on the roster, none of them that big. None of them certainly like a shot blocking type, outside of maybe Bam, who can do that, but he's not tall and super long. So this is a very flawed team. Are they still the gold medal favorites? Absolutely. Will they win? I absolutely think so. They're going to add obviously the pieces you talked about with Booker and Middleton and Holiday, which will help.
It'll help on the perimeter for sure.
But none of those guys are playmakers.
Nope.
None of those guys address what I think is lacking. So or interior guys. So the two things that are the biggest weakness on this team aren't addressed with those additions. So
This
it's a flawed roster that is still clearly better than any other roster, and talent should ultimately win out, especially when they feel like they have to play, and they're going to certainly play harder once they get out of these exhibition games. So yeah, I think they'll win, but it won't be pretty. There's going to be some tight games, and this team is the worst version of Team USA we've seen in quite a while.
I'll even have maybe a partially hot take where I wouldn't be necessarily shocked anymore if Team USA doesn't end up coming away with gold. I wouldn't be shocked.
It wouldn't be shocking. It'd be very surprising. Is that different?
Maybe, but here's the thing. You out rebound. I mean, both the first two losses that they've had, they were out rebounded, right? So they're small. They're not getting the boards off the glass. You control the ball a little bit more, and teams aren't scared of USA like they used to be. It seems like back in the day, it was like you were terrified to play USA because you knew it was going to be inevitable. Why even play the game? Like here, and it's not like anything else either. Like it was really refreshing to see Otani go in and do something from just like a all-star standpoint, right? Go in, you get the best players to go and do something that's super exciting, right? From like an all-star kind of perspective. This is kind of an all-star team, right? And you don't have that in the NBA anymore, like we talked about on the previous show. You don't get the LeBrons, you don't get the Chris Pauls and the all the top names in the NBA anymore because they just turn it down. It's a little different with COVID and everything else, but I digress. It feels different. Like when I was a kid, all I would think about is like, can we just like not have this tournament because we know that? Can we just give Team USA the gold already? And while I still think that's semi-true, I don't have the same confidence that I did back when we had those types of teams. So that just shows you that
I'm looking. I know Australia just beat them, but there's an effort level there, right? Like even in an 100%. Exhibition, when the medal's on the line, I think the U.S. team will show up against a team that plays Joe Ingles, Patty Mills, Matthew Dellavedova, Nick Kay, who's like nothing, and Matisse Thybulle. Like those are their five guys. Like against a roster that's maybe not a great mesh of talent, but still loaded with talent, where the top 10 players on the Team USA roster is better than the best player on Team Australia. So even though I agree it's super flawed, and could they lose? Yes, because they've done this before. They've done this with the most talented roster before. It's been a long time, but in the early 2000s, I don't even know. I think they lost like the bronze medal game even. Like they didn't even finish with a medal with a team that had I think Duncan on it, and he was the only one who contributed. The rest of the team just struggled beyond belief. Early in I want to say it was 2006 maybe. Throwing that out as a random year, but it was around that time, 2004 to 2008, somewhere in that spectrum. But this is a team that has way too much talent to not come away with this. And there will be no fans, which I'm not sure if that helps or hurts the U.S. I've never been in an international game like this. I think most fans that are there are either rooting for the underdog normally, but in this situation, maybe they're rooting for the superstars that they know and have watched on TV and love. So I don't know. I think you put me at fiction, by the way, but I think I'm fact.
Oh yeah, you're no, sorry, yeah, no, you're fact.
It's all good. It's all good. It's on video, audio.
We got.
I am in fact.
I mean, yeah, I just think at the worst, I mean, you got some dogs and stuff playing defense. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, Carl Anthony Towns. You got Bam, obviously, is in there. But, I mean, interestingly enough, a lot of the bigger guys that in the league, like centers and guys who can, play big, a lot of them are international guys, realistically. But you got, the kid Wood out in Houston, who's pretty decent. Jared Allen, Andre Drummond, maybe some dogs like Montrezl Harrell. I mean, they're not the best guys in the league, but at least they're gritty and they could like play a little defense and do a little something, right? We just got a bunch of jump shooters.
Well, I think they tried to address that with gritty guys. Like, I think Bam's somewhat gritty, and I think Draymond's certainly gritty.
Draymond for sure. He's a dog.
Bam's got some link to him. He's just kind of like a nothing at times on offense.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, he took a step back for me this past season, in my opinion. So I don't know. I'm not sold on him quite yet. I want to see more from him consistently. But, anyways, that's what we got. We'll keep an eye on this one too.
Finally made it to the end of this show.
Oh my gosh! Can we just put this show to bed? I know you guys.
37 hiccups later. When we always talk about how this is the best show ever, this was not the best show ever.
This was not the best show ever, man. We struggled. We're gonna get this all worked out, guys. I know it was a struggle for us. It was definitely probably frustrating for you guys. But if you guys were here and you guys stuck with us a little bit, thank you so much. It means a lot to us. I know we have a handful of you guys watching now, so hit us with some happy face emojis to make us feel like, hey, you're still with us. You're still there. You're still hanging in there. Don't judge us by this one stream. We're more than that. We will be back here with a new and improved stream this coming Sunday. Now, with that being said, we want to make sure that you guys are with us. So make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're watching. If you're not following already, it means a lot. And then also, if you have anything that you guys want to share the stream with anyone else and go through that pain with somebody else, just not by yourself, that's always an option too. You can always do those things. So thank you guys for being a part of everything here. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you back here without hiccups and without issues this coming Sunday to get you through the rest of your weekend. So we hope you have a great rest of your week. Enjoy it, and we will be back here